All right, so hello there. Welcome to this Thrive Together masterclass on the topic of the science of sales leadership. So our guest today, very excited to introduce, is Ophir Adar, who is the founder of Real Momentum Coaching and Training. So we'll dive into his program later. We've been working together since the fall of 2022 to put this program together. It's been launched. We're on cohort number 3. And it's been really successful. So we're excited to share with you some of the trainings, some of the insights, some of the strategies from that program so that you can start to apply them also in your business. So a little bit about Ophir is that prior to founding Real Momentum, he was the manager for Compass, Beverly Hills, and Hollywood office, and has been a manager at 3 of the top brokerages in the United States, coaching hundreds of agents. So just to lay the groundwork for who we're speaking with here in terms of expertise, and I know that Ophir, you'll share your story with us so that we can
Absolutely.
learn more about how you got there.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Me
I
too.
mean, it's like, it's really interesting because just on a quick aside, I mean, I'm like, this is just a normal, regular meeting between Laura and I because
Right. Well, this is
we
what we
meet
do.
and talk about these things.
We talk sales leadership every, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. So I
Yeah.
figured I might as well pull back the curtain and kind of share these tips with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Would
All
you
right.
like me to give a quick overview of my background
Yeah.
in 2 seconds,
Yeah.
just so
That would be
everybody
really
knows?
interesting for people.
Because, and I was talking, just so everybody knows, I was talking to Laura about this earlier. And, it's really important for people to understand context, right? Because, some people you may know they're born leaders, like when they were young, you knew they were going to be a leader and, they were confident and they had all these qualities. And that was not me. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, and it doesn't matter what it was, right? But it really weighed me down and it really prevented me from doing so many things that I wanted to be doing. And so, that was a big component of going from being shut down as a human being to finding a way to become a realtor and, in 2 years, be the number 1 team with all of Keller Williams in California. And then go on to, manage and build offices for Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, and Compass. And, all of that came from all of the things that I did starting as a realtor to go from, not understanding business and not being comfortable talking to people to where I'm at today.
That's huge because that's one of the things, in real estate, you have to show up, right? And you have to keep showing up over and over again. And if we come to it with all of the weight of our past, it gets harder and harder every single day to have those conversations. And so I love that you've done the work kind of to do, to get through that and the strategies you've developed that now you're able to share with other people and help them in their journey. So beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And my motto really is, I mean, my motto when I talk to people about coaching is if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, which is very inspirational, right? Because it's hard to, I think we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome. And it's hard to people who
Yes.
always sort of experience kind of an easy success because you think, well, that's not me. You're already disqualifying yourself. Why even try? Right. And so,
Exactly. And so that's perfect because that's my point. Like people look at me and I'm like role play expired for sale by owner. And they're like, well, that's you. That's not me. And what
right.
I want people to understand is pretty much everybody started from here. And I was so shut down and so bad at communication that they're way ahead of me from where I started. So they have such an easier journey to get
Right.
there.
Right. Right. And it's all about perspective, as you said, in context,
Yes,
right? Because when we're in it, we don't even know, how good we have it necessarily. So I appreciate that you're so open to sharing your background.
absolutely. It's a key component. Yeah.
Yeah. So we called this class the science of sales leadership because, as I've heard you mention, there really is a formula to success. It's not all like smoke and mirrors and mystery. It can be broken down into kind of step-by-step things that if you do repeatedly will result in sales success. So
Yeah.
would you be willing to share with us what you see as kind of that formula for success?
Absolutely. And just to let everybody know as well, I'm also my background is in neurolinguistic programming, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So that's a key component to everything that I coach to. And excuse me. So, it's really important to understand that there's all different paths to get to success, right? Like, I don't want to say that you got to do things this way. A lot of times people feel that. I never want to say that. But what we're talking about here is, how do you create a process and a program that really creates quick success? What I like to call an incubator for success. So, as a new agent, and even as an experienced agent, I will tell you a few things as part of the formula that will really help you get quickly into production, because that's our goal. Within 3 months, to get agents to a place where they can get an appointment every week, every 2 weeks, simply by talking to people. So, and by the way, that consistency is the most important piece. So, affirmations, number one. Affirmations are the easiest way to start to gain confidence, because how do you have confidence when you haven't had experience in real estate and you don't know everything about transactions? So affirmations is the easiest way. Every day they'll get you more and more and more confident. So it's important to focus on affirmations. That's
Can you
that's
tell us, yeah, can you give us an example of an affirmation you would encourage people to have, and some understanding of why does that work? Because I know if you've never done a transaction before, you're definitely bringing newbie energy to your conversation, right? Like, you're showing up knowing you don't really have a ton of experience and your client knows it. So how does
yeah.
affirmation work to help you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, because first of all, affirmations is you speaking to your unconscious mind, right? You are tasking your unconscious mind with gaining this confidence, and you're literally telling your unconscious mind that you are this. So your
You're
unconscious
not, yeah,
mind,
you're already that, right?
and
Yeah,
you're
so you're
telling your
convincing
unconscious,
yourself, basically, yeah.
and you're telling, yeah, and you're telling exactly, and you're telling your unconscious mind that every single day, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, like, this is perfect, because, like, one of my things I want people to focus on is I'm a powerful listing agent, right? They tell new agents you can't be a listing agent.
Mhm,
Um, and I was a listing agent from the beginning of my career, because I focused on listings,
mhm,
and I focused on getting better at my conversations. So, after, when we talk about, like, putting together a formula for success, right? Like, affirmations needs to be a big part of it, and role play, role
mhm.
play.
Yeah, role play. Tell me more about that, because I know that's really big for you, and
It's
how you.
enormous for me, because people make first of all, people make the assumption that because they're good at talking to people, they're good at talking to people about real estate. And
Mhm,
please, I want you to hear this. That's not an assumption you should make. There's very specific real estate conversations. And when you understand a simple formula that you can follow, it also takes a lot of the fear away. So it vaults you forward too, right? Like, I know here's my formula that I can follow. And by the way, scripts aren't designed so that you're robotic.
mhm. I think that's a
Scripts,
big objection people have. People feel resistance to script sometimes because they're like, I don't want to sound, unnatural or
of
whatever.
course, of course. And by the way, guess what? You will when you start.
Right,
It's
right. Everybody
impossible.
does. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
impossible not to. When I
Sound
started, I sounded a little robotic, but I quickly, because I role played every day, I quickly
right.
got from robotic to being, nobody's ever told me that I'm using a script.
Right, right. It's so natural. And obviously you're meant
It's
to adapt
internalized.
them a little bit, but a lot of these scripts are based on so many decades of these conversations, right? And really optimized of, like, how do we most quickly identify what their objection is and address it. And I've heard you say so many times, there are only a set number of objections in real estate, so you might as well learn how to handle all of them.
Once you learn how to master them, see, people learn pieces and snippets, so they're not good at them. They know
Right,
them, but they're not good at them,
right,
right?
right.
And so
That's practice.
it doesn't come across, right?
Right.
And so all you got to do is practice and internalize them. And when they may be verbalized a little bit differently, but the objections are usually the same, right? Like, uh, why should I pay this much commission? Why should I work with you over another agent? All these different things. I want to work with a local realtor. I have a friend in the business. No, all these things that when you know how to handle them, they give you ultimate confidence. and allow you to move forward quickly. And also, really importantly, one of the things of the design for the scripts, and this is why we do role play, is to teach people how to build rapport quickly and easily. When you're talking, excuse me, when you're talking to people that you don't know, you have to learn how to build rapport quickly and easily with them. And so that's part of, we design the scripts, we design it to really learn how to quickly and easily build rapport with people. And
Yes.
also, one of the things I also recommend people think about is I see so many realtors who decide they're going to try to lead generate or role play, lead generate. And no is the beginning of the conversation. You should understand that. You should go in with the intention that the no is the beginning of the conversation.
Because we're so afraid, I feel like as humans generally, to hear the word no. It's this one of the scariest things that we go out of our way to make requests or anything just so that we don't have to hear no. And so yeah, that just the idea that no means okay, now we have a starting point to figure out why
Yeah.
the no, and kind of dig further.
Yeah. So back to the formula, these are all, so role play, check your ego at the door. I used to have that sign up on my office. Check your ego at the door, right? There's no room for your ego in real estate. And I can tell you straight up, I got into real estate in 2002. I had such a huge ego. And I don't mean, just so everybody understands, I don't mean ego like I'm the best. I mean, ego like I didn't want rejection, right? My ego couldn't stand rejection, couldn't stand that somebody didn't like me, somebody told me to F off, right? Like all these different things, and I took it so
You're taking
personally.
it personally. Yeah, they should just you're taking it
Absolutely.
personally when someone has a response, as opposed to this is a conversation, this is an exchange of information, and it's a skill that you're mastering. It's not a reflection of
Yeah. And,
you.
and if you don't want it, I'm not going to attach to your energy. I just move on to the next person. I'm here to find somebody who has a real estate need. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then another piece of the formula that's massively important, massively, and it's not the easiest, but it's be attached to the process and not the outcome. And do the process the way the process was meant to be done. Don't go, I'm going to individualize it and make it my own. And then when it doesn't work, go, it doesn't work.
Right.
Be attached to, excuse me, be attached to the process, because anybody that understands business knows when you're attached to the process, the outcome always comes.
Right. So if
So
you're always doing those steps that you've been trained to do, that you know will lead you down that path, then you'll always get there.
and
If
I'll
you're
use me as an example, right? Like I told you guys, I wasn't really good at talking to people. It took me 6 months to get my first expired listing. 6 months. And this is part of the process. I want everyone to understand. It went from first going to pick up a phone and hanging it up, going to pick up, hanging it up and shaking and then going, dialing numbers and hanging up, right? So it's like I kept pushing
familiar.
myself, then picking up the phone, calling people and having them hang up on me over and over again. Then getting into, and I'm talking about week after week, then getting into conversations, starting to get into conversations. And then what's the next step after that? After you start to get into conversations, then the next step is you get into appointments, right? This is all part of the process. You get better and better, and then you get better at contracts. And that's it, right?
And why do you think people resist that process? Or why do you think people kind of give up on it pretty quickly? One of the first one, knows.
It's just about human nature, right? Like human nature is to try to see what works, and especially, we talk about ADD nation, right? Like, quick, I gotta have it now. Like this is,
Yeah.
if I don't get a result, if I'm not getting a result, it's not working.
Right,
That's
right.
this doesn't work if I'm not getting a result, right?
And you call
And
that your evidentiary
evidence
procedure?
procedure,
Evidence
evidence
procedure.
procedure.
Right? If your evidence procedure is I tried it one time and it didn't work for me, almost it's never going to work, right?
Yeah, right. That's it. And my evidence procedure is if somebody else can do it, then I absolutely can find a way to do it, right?
And use them
And
as a model. And now all of a sudden, yeah,
modeling is the most powerful way of building a business. If someone's done it before you, you can literally model what they've done.
And I love
Absolutely.
that, yeah, that's why you're also so open about modeling your success, right? Is because
Oh,
that's how you'll help people understand that it's even possible. And once they know it's possible and you explain, kind of how you got there, then they're just much more likely to get there
well,
as
I
well.
mean, listen, let's be clear about this. All of the things that I teach come from all these amazing leaders, Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Gary Keller, like all and people before that. Like this isn't something Ophir did. This is
Right.
something that's been done over and over again. And I've
Yeah.
added, what I've added is over the 20 years 15 years that I've managed offices and coached and worked with so many different agents, especially newer ones coming in, I had to try to figure out ways to get them into production as quickly as possible. And so I tried different things, right, until I got to a formula where I feel like, if we start building their connections first with people that care about them, because you want to try with somebody that's going to give you positive feedback because that's going to encourage you to
Feel
do more.
safer. Yeah.
Right. Then we start building out our sphere. And then in the third week, we start adding people we don't know. And we build from there. Right. And we monitor and we see we set goals every week. We see what our results were. We make some changes and then we set goals for the next week. And that's the other thing I was going to tell you. You talk about formula for success. You have to you not have to. I never use the word have to because nobody does things they have to. They do
Right.
things they want
That
to.
sounds sexy.
Well, they
Yeah.
don't do things they have to. How many realtors have sat in front of me and cried and said, I have to start lead generating because I don't have any money and I'm going to be on the street, and they don't do it. And I
Right.
know they won't do it because you want to. You
Right.
have
You
to want
choose
to.
to versus,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's where
Missing
reframing
energy.
that's where reframing comes in because you are looking at it with the wrong perspective, right? And I'm just going to use reframing. I'll set it up simply, right? It's glass half empty, glass half full, right? That's reframing. You can reframe anything that you're looking at positively or negatively. Which frame are you looking at it in, right? If you're looking at it in a positive frame, it's going to make you want to do it. But if you're looking at it in a negative frame, even if you push yourself to do it, at some point you're going to stop doing it. And that's why a lot of people fall off from that.
And reframing is one of the techniques that you've learned through your neuro-linguistic programming
Oh,
training.
reframing is a enormous, like, I think reframing is the most powerful tool in real estate. And it's not just reframing for yourself, but also reframing for your clients. You have
Mhm.
to learn how to reframe things for your clients. And I didn't mention this earlier, but the best of scripts, the best of conversations is when you ask your clients questions that lead them to the conclusions that you want them to get to on their own. Because when
Mhm.
you tell people something, you're going to get a lot of resistance. When they self discover it, that's their idea and they're going to attach to it.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, to get to a place where you can really, lead people where you want them to go.
Mhm, mhm. And that neuro-linguistic programming is really about how language shapes our behavior. Is that correct? And so
Well,
it shapes our thinking. The words we use shape our thinking and therefore how we act.
Well, there's two parts to neuro-linguistic programming. So there's exactly what you're talking about. There's a simple, just languaging part, right? And part of being a master practitioner is also I'm a master hypnotherapist,
Mhm,
because that's part of languaging, being able to speak in patterns, being able to affect your clients, speak to their unconscious mind, all of those things. So the first part is languaging, being able to, and I use that in my training. I'm
mhm, mhm.
constantly smashing. The first month is about smashing limiting beliefs, empowering them and moving them forward. So you can use words. Words are so powerful. You can use words so effectively. Here's the best tip for, and newer people, people in real estate know this. Never use the word house. Use the
Mm,
word home. House is
mhm,
impersonal. Home is personal. Unless it's an investor, it's a different story. But like if somebody's primary residence, it's always use the word home, attachment, right? So words matter. And as a coach, this is the most powerful part. I can analyze when I sit down with somebody, I know by the words they use what they're going to do, whether they're going to succeed or not. And I can
mhm.
also change the words that they use. So if somebody's sitting down in front of me is, I'm going to try to do this. I know they're not going to try. Try is an excuse that you can use
They're
to get,
already giving themselves an out for not doing it, right?
yeah.
Well, I said I would try to do it. I didn't say I
Yeah,
would.
yeah, absolutely. And all of this is the more you do this stuff, and that's why I want people to do it all together. The more you do this stuff, the more empowered you get, the stronger you get, quicker, faster, and it's real momentum. That's the name of the coaching company. You get into real momentum.
Once you start to experience that, level of comfort and people start responding to you, and then,
Well,
all the about the
if you're doing affirmations and you're role playing and you're making 5 sphere and 5 people you don't know contacts every day, and you're doing all these things together, it's going to build massive momentum, man.
yes,
Build
yes,
massive momentum.
yeah. So when you say, attached to the process rather than the results, is the process what you were describing, that you would make start by 5 sphere contacts and then, adding new people to your database? What is that? What do you
Yeah,
recommend?
the process would be doing your affirmations every single day, doing your role play every single day. And by the way, for those that don't know, like part of the design of role play is that you do role play right before you make your calls,
Mhm.
because that also gets you into it and you're practicing on your role play partner versus on potential client, right?
I remember that stood out to me when you would talk about that. If you don't role play, beforehand, you're practicing on your clients, and that's just not a comfortable look for anybody. That really hit home to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it vaults you into action, right? And it gets you better and better at your objection handling, at your conversations. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a key component for sure.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about some of the limiting beliefs that you see and that you're able to kind of target through your program to help agents have
Yeah,
confidence?
yeah, absolutely. When I started being asked these questions about limiting beliefs, a lot of times we don't even know the limiting beliefs that we have. And I'm going to give you an example, right? Here's a simple limiting belief that most every agent I know has. You can't be a listing agent at the beginning of your career,
Mhm, mhm.
right? And they've
I've
been
heard that
told,
one before.
yeah, from everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You got to work with buyers first, and then, yeah, of course,
That's just the
right?
way it's done. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And limiting beliefs are usually, listen, most of our patterns are created in our childhood. They're usually created in our childhood and then compounded as we're getting older and our friends and colleagues dump their limiting beliefs on us. And then we continue to build limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs, they paralyze us without even knowing it. And you can simply take a limiting belief and reframe it
Mhm,
into a
mhm,
powerful thing, right? That allows you to get excited and to move forward.
mhm, mhm. I remember you've shared how you've transformed one of your limiting beliefs with me before. It was
Oh, oh, yeah. Like the number one paradigm shift that I had, because I talked to you about, not being able to lead generate, not wanting to
right. And
talk
you're
to
saying like you'd be in your
I,
car, white
yeah, I
knuckle, just
felt like
like
I was a
nothing can get
scumbag.
out. Yeah,
I felt
yeah.
like I was a scumbag salesperson, right? Like what people were trying to dump on me and say, "Oh, that's what scumbags do." All this stuff, right? Because they're not willing to do it and they don't want you to do it, right? I mean, let's be clear. Door knocking works. There's not even a question about it. If you do it right, it works really well, right? Yeah, so look, I mean, these are like when you get good at your conversations, then not only are you not afraid to talk to anybody when you go door knocking, but it also, whether you do it door knocking or not, when you go to an event or a party, it gives you much better conversations
Mhm.
and stronger rapport building skills and easier to get people's information, right?
Yes. So yeah, so you were saying your limiting belief that you
So
are leaving.
my limiting belief was massive. It was that exact same thing, right? Like I'm bothering people. I
Mm,
feel smarmy. I don't like the rejection, even though I wouldn't admit that part, right?
right,
I
right, right.
hate.
That was subconscious, but the part you would
Yeah,
admit
yeah.
is maybe you didn't identify as a salesperson because you had a certain connotation with the word sales.
100%. I did not listen. I'll share two parts. So I used to go to Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry, this was an epiphany. Mike Ferry was on stage and he said, who here doesn't feel like they're a salesperson, right? Doesn't want to be a smarmy, doesn't want to be a salesperson, you don't want, and like I was so excited and I raised my hand and there's a bunch of people raising their hand. I said, now get up. And Mike Ferry's not like the nicest guy. Now get the F out of the, and I was like, and then I was
Uh,
like, the man's right, right? Like if I'm
right,
going to be a
right.
salesman,
You
be
should
the
be,
best
you need to own it.
salesperson,
Yeah, you need to own it
right?
because you're always
Be
going to
your
be on the gas, foot on the brake. If you're like, I want to do sales, but I'm not a salesperson, it's very confusing for
It's
your
your
brain.
it's your persona, right? And actually, one of the main things people need to understand is you have a different persona as an employee. You've got to create a whole new persona as a entrepreneur.
Hmm.
We talk about this stuff. You've
Yes.
got to
Yeah.
create a whole new persona. It's a different, completely different way of doing things, right?
Right. Right. And you've talked a lot about the importance of being a professional, understanding yourself as a professional versus an amateur, right? So I think
Well,
about persona as like imagining yourself as a business, right? As opposed to just, a guy trying to sell a house. I don't know. The
Well, I
difference.
mean, no, it's first of all, you don't see your value, right? I mean, you see these commissions and you hear all these people talking about you just make all this money. And when you start to get into transactions, right, you know how difficult it is. You
Right.
start to respect yourself so much more. You
Right.
respect your money more, you respect your talent more. And all of that. First of all, you got role play, affirmations, then you got transactions that build. That's my point. Like you're creating an incubator for real momentum. And real estate's all about momentum, right? You want to
Yes.
build on your momentum. And most realtors work, have a little bit of results, maybe have a listing or an escrow, and they're like, I can't talk to more people because I'm too busy facilitating my one deal.
Right. And then they stop calling people, they start talking to people, and now they have more, no, nothing else in the
That's why
pipeline.
it's a roller coaster. Now they're done, right?
Easter
And
famous.
by the way, I'm going to share with you a real big secret. Most of it is because they have move away from values instead of move towards values. So if you have a move away from value, that means that you're moving away from not having any money. That's your value. So when you get a check, a nice check from a commission, you don't feel that motivation anymore because your value's been fulfilled. You got money in your account. You only
Yeah.
feel that motivation when you don't have money in your account again. And
Right.
then you start,
And you go back
you
at it.
but you
Hmm.
can simply change people's values and rearrange them and make them move towards versus move away from. And we don't know these things. We don't know what we don't know, right? And so I wanted to understand myself. I wanted to understand, first of all, what prevented me from doing these things. And also, then I wanted to understand what really prevents others from doing them. And how can I support them in moving forward as quickly as possible and pushing themselves past comfort zones so they can grow exponentially and create the lives they want to live, right?
Yes. And so that's the programming. It's all those ideas that, about ourselves and our persona, our values, that's kind of underlying all of our actions. They inform our thoughts and our words and our actions. And so it's about reprogramming, like a computer,
Yeah.
like
But
reprogramming
yes,
it and being more intentional, choosing how you want to understand
true.
yourself.
Intention is everything. Realtors are usually trying to grab business from everywhere. And by the way, they work so damn hard and they have very little to show for it.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
ones that understand to pick 4 sources of lead generation, become a master of them, incorporate them into your business. You don't need any more than that.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And focus on that. And by the way, just to finish up what your question was, the reframe that I had went from I'm bothering people, I'm scummy, I'm this, I'm that, to after having seen so many transactions and horrible ones, horrible agents, I reframed it to if I'm not reaching out to these people to help them, there's some bad realtor that is, and they're going to end up with them. And I'm doing them a disservice by not reaching out to them so they can work with a realtor that cares, that has integrity, and that's going to give them the best possible transaction. And
Yes.
that vaulted
That's
me complete,
powerful. Yeah, because you took it kind of away from yourself, like who am I? And you put it on,
right? Yeah, I took it away. Guess what I took it from? I took it from victimhood to accountability. And that's the other piece, right?
mhm.
In any given
Yeah,
moment,
you're so
you
big on accountability. Yep, yeah.
any given moment you can be a victim or you can be accountable. And I have my victim versus accountability chart that I want everyone to have up in front of them so that they know, like, oh, this moment, wait, let me look. Am I being a victim? Am I being accountable? And when I started working with that chart, I was always a victim, always on the victim side. So I started moving towards the accountable side, right? Slowly but surely. And now I'm always on the accountable side.
And that's the reframe, right? Is that in
Yeah,
any
but it
scenario, you
takes
can
time to
probably
get there.
find, some way that you were wronged or some way that you could have done it better, and so, and I know accountability also, holding yourself accountable to your goals is really important for you, that you have accountability.
Well, actually, I really want to speak on that because
Oh,
it's really
please do.
important. It's really important to understand most people can't be self-accountable.
Mm, yes.
The
Mhm.
people that are self-accountable are usually the most successful people in the world. So what you need to do is crave accountability, put things into, that's why I have an accountability group with 10 people in a group. And also there's strength in number. And when you share these things that are limiting you, others have the same limits, and then you empower each other and you move forward, right? So seek accountability, but don't think that you're going to be able to hold yourself self-accountable. You have to be self-aware, right? If you
Right.
can be self-accountable, great.
Yeah.
I
It's,
talk
there's
about,
almost no one who, I don't think any of us can be fully self-accountable, right? I don't know who that human is, because your brain's always going to find a way to get you out of it. This excuse or that
your
excuse.
unconscious mind is, this is what I want people to understand. Your unconscious mind is designed to protect you. So if
Mm,
you don't want to do something, you don't like it, your unconscious mind is going to create a story and a reason why you shouldn't do it to protect you,
right,
even though
right.
it's not protecting you,
Even
but
though, yeah,
that's
because
the
that
intention.
unconscious mind was developed really in like a very basic sense to protect us out in the wild, keep you safe. But we've evolved beyond that. And now we want to self-actualize, and our brain
Yeah.
sort of works against us in some
Yeah.
regard.
Well, I want people to understand, 99% of what you do is your unconscious mind. So I want you to hear this. Your conscious mind is the goal setter.
Mhm,
Your unconscious mind is the goal getter.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Very important to understand that. So that's why NLP, if you can effectively communicate with your unconscious mind and also with others, and you can focus on understanding patterns and being able to quickly identify them and shift them, then it's wonderfully powerful, right?
Yeah, you're
Like,
tapping into that source of your actual motivation, and you're getting all parts of your brain aligned in the same direction, right? As
yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to,
And the more you're in integrity with yourself, and I like to say pono, which is a Hawaiian word, pono, in integrity with yourself, the more it shows, right? And the more people can't knock you off of where you stand. You are strong when you have a strong base and you have integrity, and people feel that off of you and they want to work with you.
that reminds me of something you say about, being a professional versus an amateur. You talked to me before about setting specific hours, right, as a real estate agent, because we see it a lot that agents feel the need to be available all the time at all hours of the day to their clients. And you had mentioned to me, this like totally blew my mind, is that, if you treat yourself like a professional, you have working hours. Like, businesses have working hours. Businesses aren't, available at 1 a.m. if a client's looking on Zillow. You can't just call up a company and get someone on the phone. And so it's
You're going to call up a lawyer and be like, hey, I can talk at 10 o'clock at night. Are you available? Talk then?
right, right. And
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
my
Like,
working hours are these hours. And I
yeah.
think that agents sometimes resist that because they don't want to lose the business. But in your experience, you've seen how people respond so positively to you standing in your space, of saying, I'm a professional, these are my hours, right? That actually works in the agent's favor that you've seen.
I mean, listen, just in a nutshell, right? Would you rather work with somebody who's like, I'm available anytime you need me, which means they don't have any other business, right? And they're not doing anything, or somebody who has a schedule, who's busy, who has
Right,
formulas, who has systems,
right,
right? Like,
right.
of
Yeah.
course,
So, and
of
we know
course,
there's
can't.
going to be exceptions. There's always going to be like the thing, but it's just, if you
No,
come in.
Laura, this is such a huge component. I really want everyone to hear this because this is what happens to so many realtors, right? Like, they get the exception, right? And they try to work with the exception.
Mhm.
And then that exception crushes them. And they may
Mm,
be
it
sitting
took
on a
way
listing,
more time than it should. That
time,
exception
effort, no
client.
money. And so then what association happens?
Mm,
Listings are bad. I don't
mhm,
want listings because they're bad,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because I had a bad experience. So now listings become bad, right? And
So,
so, yeah, go on.
so the clients that kind of who respect your working hours would be more likely the ones that you want to work with because they're going to follow your
You
process and they're
find
going to.
what you seek, right? And this is the key component. Listen, we all have an individual lens. What does that mean, right? So we've all lived our own experience. So everybody's perception, everybody sees perception through their experiences, right? And if you've had trauma and if you've had bad things happen to you, a lot of it will be negative. So you're going to seek to find those negative things. That's what you're looking for. You
Right.
find what you're looking for. So if you want to find clients that treat you like a professional and you start treating yourself like a professional, you're going to attract those type of clients, right? If you think all clients are difficult and you've got to work 24 hours a day just to make them happy, you're going to find those clients. You find what you're looking for.
This is really powerful. This
Yeah.
is a really.
Absolutely. And that's why we really try to reframe things and look at things differently. And part of the goal with this program is when you really start to attach to talking to different people, you start to think in possibilities. You start to think in opportunities always. You start to see that there's so many sources for business. There's so many ways you can build.
Yes, and so then now we're not afraid. Maybe we're not in scarcity mindset. I got to take any client I possibly
Oh my
can.
God, that's you change completely from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. When I got to a place where I could fire clients all the time because I'm not interested in working with somebody who doesn't respect what I do, that's not a match for me, right? Like, I don't
Right,
need to work with you. And I have so many leads. I'm only going to work with the people that work with me the way I want to work.
right. So the
It's a
idea is to get
beautiful
as
thing. And by the
many leads
way,
as you can, so you can choose.
when you run an intentional business, you end up working a lot less and
Mm-hmm,
making more money. And so I was literally I had a team, my partner, we were doubling our business every year and working less
mm-hmm.
because we were intentional and we had a focus.
Right.
And by the way, the biggest thing, we're talking about the formula for success is if you're not taking time off, you're not good.
I was
And
gonna
I
ask
wore
you
that.
about
I
that.
wore that as a badge of courage. I
I
worked
remember.
3 days straight, right? And so, but I didn't know that until I got to a place. And by the way, also formula for success, coaching.
Mm-hmm.
It transformed my life. I wouldn't know any of this stuff if I hadn't gotten it. I wouldn't know all of this stuff if I hadn't got into coaching. And so, so many people see coaching. By the way, I paid $1,000 a month in 2003 for one-on-one coaching for a half an hour call 4 times a month, right? But I guarantee you, I spent 12 grand a year to make 200 grand every year just off of coaching. 200, 400, 600, right?
Because you do it, you're paying the person to tell you what to do, so you better go do it. I remember you're saying that's like that was one of your motivators to change your behavior. It was like, well, otherwise I'm just throwing this money away if I'm not actually going to do the thing.
And accountability, right? The biggest lesson I learned was when when I came to, have a meeting with my coach, you get 4 half-hour phone calls. So it's 250 a call if it's 1,000 a month, right? So half-hour phone call, and that's back 2003. That's a lot of money. I didn't have my numbers done. So he said, thank you very much. I'll talk to you next week.
Ah,
Bam.
that's a motivator to get your numbers.
Right? But
Yeah.
it's a motivator to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the thing of like, what am I doing? Like,
Right,
why would
right,
I hire a coach and then not do the things that I'm supposed to be doing in order to grow where I want to go?
right.
And part of what I want people to understand is like I stand before you, like now I've managed for 3 of the top companies. I've built massively successful offices. I've trained and supported some of the most successful realtors in town. And it all came from pushing myself massively past comfort zones, growing tremendously to a place where I'm really proud of myself. I'm proud of everything that I've accomplished. I'm proud that I put myself out there, that I pushed myself past every comfort zone. And when you do that, your ceiling of achievement keeps breaking through and you keep having a new one, and you can start to accomplish amazing things just by simply following the processes. Have a business plan, right? And my whole thing is, by the way, I'm now in coaching, right? Trying to get online coaching. Now I have to create a different message, and I'm doing what agents are doing. I had to create a message for me as an agent, and now I have to create a message for me as a coach. So I'm right in it with you guys, and I'm going to a training in February for 2 days to work on my messaging, on my story, to get it dialed in.
Yeah, that's that growth mindset, right? Just always looking for where is that
Always have a growth mindset.
feeling and how, or where's that zone and how can I push through? Because I can't ever think of an example of where that hasn't served someone, right? It's like that discomfort. There's no experience in which pushing through it hasn't been rewarding for people.
And the secret is, this is something I really have talked about recently a lot because people don't get it. The secret is when you push yourself past that comfort zone, it's not like a whole long
Right.
process. You're breaking through a barrier. And the best way I've identified this, I talk about this in the cohort, is go watch American Idol. Go watch American Idol. You can watch people either fold, literally crumble on stage, or step into their light and go like this and shine
And
because
they'll
they're
never be the
so
same again, right?
right. But that's because there's so much pressure put on them that it happens in an instant, right?
Right.
And that's our
Yeah.
goal. We want to put that pressure on you and support your growth and be there.
Right, right. And that's the whole point, is that it will never be uncomfortable for forever, right? It's like you will always get on the other side of it. And there's there's a rush that happens. There's like a little high that you get, right? When you see like when you do the thing that would have scared you before and now you can do comfortably, it's one of the greatest feelings in the world, I think.
Laura, becoming a good communicator will allow you to write your own ticket into the things you want to do. Communication is everything. And by the way, I'm a huge fan of Warren Buffett. I quote him all the time, but I never saw this quote from Warren Buffett until this week, which was, I haven't memorized it yet, but it was about, if you want to increase a company's productivity by 50%, get better communication going in the company.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you talk
Um,
about there's all different types of ways that we're listening, right? We're listening to the words people say, but also their facial expressions, all their nonverbal cues, right? And so
Yeah, you're
getting
also listening to the rate of speech, their intonation. If you're from Texas and I'm from New York and I'm talking to you like I'm from New York, you're not going to build rapport with me. So I'm just going to slow down my speech a little bit. I'm going to mirror and match you. I'm not going to start talking like I'm from Texas, right? I'm just going to
that would be
match.
inauthentic. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm just
That
going to
would be a
match a
little
little bit
silly,
more
but
your, yeah, and
exactly.
you don't know why, but you feel rapport with me because like attracts like. So if I'm mirroring you, you feel rapport with me.
Yeah. And same thing, picking up on kind of the way that people speak. Are people usually using more visual cues? Are there more auditory
Well,
words, thick words?
that
That's a whole other level.
yeah, that's beautiful what you just said. It's high level, and I coach to this too a lot. Like, and it's actually not that difficult. It's you want to feed things to your clients in their vernacular, right? So is your client visual? Are they auditory? Are they kinesthetic? So kinesthetic means feel, right? Visual. So I see myself living in this house, right? That's a visual person. Now you want to start talking with visual terms, right? Because if you're saying I see myself living here, and how does this house sound to you? You're not connected to it. That's
Yeah.
simple, right? Like, so you just simply have to listen, pick up on their, you call it modality: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, or gustatory. And olfactory doesn't factor in because we're not tasting property. Uh,
In this context, yeah, it's gonna be a little odd. Yep.
Wait, olfactory smell, gustatory is taste. Yeah.
Okay, well, either
Yeah.
way, either
Yeah.
smell probably doesn't come up so much. Well, I mean,
Yeah. We're not smelling or tasting property, right?
it
But
is one of the reasons though, right? Didn't you talk about like freshly baked cookies or something? We do learn through all of our senses.
I bake vanilla in
Oh,
tinfoil
mhm.
uh, in the oven. It makes the whole house smell just amazing. And vanilla is a inviting scent for purchasing. Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could talk to people on all these levels. I would love to pick your brain. So I know that you experienced success in 2008. During the downturn, you're able to take your office from the bottom quartile, right, of the 800 Keller
Keller Williams
Williams,
office. Yeah.
yeah, up to the top quartile. So how how are you able to do that, right? Because I'm sure everyone's running around like the sky is falling, kind of Chicken Little. How are you able to break through that noise and experience, that success in sales leadership?
It's such a great question. And I had a message in 2008 that is the same right now. Same message I will give you right now, which is right now is the opportunity for agents to build the most successful businesses around, right? So in 2008, I knew there were so many people leaving the industry, so many people that were just crushed, weren't even lead generating or talking to people. And so, my focus was on this is our opportunity to create success, right? And when I took over the office, everybody was resistant to me, hated me, didn't want to talk to me, was like, F you and your lead gen, right? And because I have a very strong mission statement, which is to help people become the cause of their lives rather than the effect, I was a stand for transformation for the office. That's part of leadership, right? And so they really started to attach to that and started to really engage with it. And I shared the vision for the office and it got them all excited about the vision, and we were in it together. And because of that, we did role play, I did training, I created an incubator for agents to succeed. And not only does it create massive success for agents in your office, but that also gets all the other agents to want to come over to get a piece of that, right?
Yeah. So then recruiting wise, right? If you're known as the office that's getting results in a downturn and has that positive mindset, then it's that much easier to attract other like-minded people than
Yeah,
quitting.
and by the way, as a real estate agent, I became a lead generator, a caller, a door knocker. I did all those things, and I had no problem doing it as a manager either. And yet, I barely made any phone calls
Mhm, mhm.
because my focus is on the agents in my office,
Right.
right? And when I show them what they're capable of and I support them in that and I nurture them, then they're going to share it with other people and other people are going to see it and other people are going to want it and they'll come to interview with us, right?
Right. So I'm sure, yeah, it was very powerful then, right? To have a leader with that mindset of, they're hearing everywhere, kind of like probably now. We hear a lot of like no one's buying, no one's
Ab-
buying right now, or there are no buyers,
Absolutely.
right?
Ab-
And so I remember one thing that you've really kind of hammered home for the agents in your program, and it's that it's the mindset, it's the affirmation that there's enough business for me to do, right? That there's enough people buying and selling for me to be able to have as much business as I want.
More than like
It's
times
game
50,
changing.
right? Like
Yeah.
we're focused on a big picture. There's less business out there, then I have to do less business, right? That's just the simple equation, right? And
Exactly.
that's not the way it works, first of all, right? And the ones that are proactive, right? You can either be proactive or reactive as a realtor, and most realtors are reactive. When you're a proactive realtor, you're going to be capable of building your database with sellers quickly and easily. And by the way, a couple of things I want to share with people. The sellers in the next few years are going to be the baby boomers, right? And those people are more apropos to have face-to-face conversations, to want rapport on the phone, to talk to people. They're not the, mostly social media people and all of that, right? So you do have a massive opportunity to really make relationships and succeed. But when you create that incubator, right, it's about the consistencies because they may fall off. It happens to each and every one of us. You get unmotivated, but there's other people that are motivated, other people that are pumping you up and bringing you along. So you're down one day, somebody else is down another day. It's so collaborative and the energy is so contagious, right? And so it's an incubator for success. That's the goal of what you want to create for whether you're a team or a office or a company. You really want to create a place where you can have an incubator for success for agents to come and show up and get the support they need to do the things that they're great at.
That's beautiful. I don't think it could be said any better than that. I think we'll stop here. So I'm gonna when we send this recording out, we're gonna share the link to your website, realmomentum.com, where people can sign up for the next cohort for training. We'll also share the link to your calendar so people could book a 15-minute consultation with you. And
Yeah,
then
that's what I wanted to say. I'd love to talk to anybody and everybody. I always tell people when I run an office, I have a sickness that I love realtors. I do. I love, first of all, I am a realtor. I love realtors and I know how hard they work and I want to support them wholeheartedly because they're important in supporting the consumers. That's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, and you have this gift and so much to share. So it'd be great if anyone just wants to hop on the call with you, the 15-minute consultation. So we'll send the link, and that can also be found on your website, realmomentum.com. And then
By the
here,
way, you're amazing.
oh, thank you.
You are amazing. I've been working with Laura and she's helped me create this program and she's been incredible. And Kathleen is amazing. And I'm really grateful to you guys as well for having me.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys
Thank
so much.
you. I've such a pleasure, right? And I've learned incredible amounts, right? That I know I'll be applying for years to come. So
That's my favorite thing when
it's all sinking in, right? Yeah.
Laura's like, I had to start calling people because you wouldn't shut up about it.
I started calling people, and guess what? I didn't hate it. Well, one, I didn't die. Two, I didn't hate it. I got some business out of it. It
And
was
three, they
yeah,
want to
yeah.
work with
Three,
you.
they want to. Guess what? They don't hate talking to me. They want to work
That's
with me.
my favorite. When I
Yeah.
get an agent finally called their sphere and they come back and they're like, they actually like me.
They actually like me. I know, and it's so funny because you weren't even talking. You weren't training me, but I, by osmosis, I learned a few things. And I love, same. I do my affirmations and a lot of visualizations because that's powerful no matter what your goals are, right?
Yeah,
Because
and you're growth oriented just like I am. So the goal is to constantly be growing and transforming. And
I
I want
love
to share
it.
last thing, number
Yeah.
one rule for transformation is self-awareness. See, if you
Mm,
don't know that there's a problem, if you're not willing to look and see that there's a problem, then there's nothing to fix.
right. You're not even asking the question,
There's
so you
nothing to
won't
work
find
on.
the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. And you'll blame everybody else. You'll be in victimhood and blame everybody else for everything that happens to you. Thank you so much.
Beautifully said. All right, and next month, February 22nd, Thursday, February 22nd, we'll be talking about elevating client care, whether it's concierge level or luxury level client care, and we'll be getting some tips about that. So hope to see you
Thank you
then.
so much, Laura.
Here, thank you, Ophir. See you soon. Bye.